Brother Red Pill representing Know the Ledge, one half of the Twin Pillars. I am here rocking with Crumb TV.
No, you are watching Crumb TV.
You can find me on Crumb TV.
You can catch me on Crumb TV.
This is Chief Kalanago here at Crumb TV.
I am Joy Allen of the Memoirs of a Karmic Dynasty in the Crumb TV studio.
Honored to be on your program, brother.
Peace.
Peace.
Crumb TV.
Peace and blessings, everybody. Hotep, Hotep, Hotep.
Peace, peace,
welcome.
Peace. What's up? What's up?
All right. So we are Novakane Omega, and
this is Phatz.
You know what I mean?
Serious B. You know what I'm saying? What's up? What's up?
Of the Rubber People. And we just like to say peace and blessings. It's good to have y'all. We're about to get it in a very short amount of time, dropping a lot of knowledge on y'all. You know what I mean? I'm Crumb's older sister, if you will, big sister. And he invited us on today to give y'all a presentation of a book, you know, of a fine piece of work that my brother back here has penned to teach you about hip hop and everything that's going on. But before we get into that, we got to acknowledge first responders. As soon as y'all get up here, I'm going to get you going. Hold up. So who we got? All right. So first of all, peace, fam. Peace, Isaac Stevens. How you doing?
What up? Peace, fam. What up?
Oh, no, that's from back in the day. Hold up. Here we go. Here go the real first responders. These are old comments. There we go. Samurai's mom, how you doing? All right. How you doing, sis? All right. Enoch's lyrics. Blessings. You know what I mean?
What's up? Peace.
And I'm familiar with you. What's up, K. Croft? This 99. Peace.
Peace. What's up? What's up, family?
You said it sounds a little weird. Hold on. I think I know what it is. Thank y'all for your feedback already. We want to make sure this sounds right and that we get this right, because we got some information that I think is going to bless y'all's hearts. All right. So while I'm doing this, Phatz, introduce yourself real quick.
I am Phatz. I am Phatz Zulu King, Phatz Mighty Zulu Union. You know what I mean? I'm an author. I'm a dancer, and I'm coming to you as the author today and MC. I wrote a book entitled OFFSTAGE. Again, I want to thank Crumb and Crumb TV. We're coming to y'all on behalf of Hip Hop History Month. For those of you who don't know or may know, this is definitely Hip Hop History Month. So here we go, and that's what we're doing here. So I'm introducing myself, bringing you my calling, what I've been put on this planet to do, to set the record straight with the history, culture, and heritage of hip hop, which has been long ignored. So let's go.
Good. Let us know if it still sounds weird. You know what I'm saying? I hope it doesn't. You know, I can make some adjustments. I want it to be right. All right. So we're here today to talk about. Well, hold on. I don't want to go too far. I also want to thank you, Crumb, for inviting us to do this. It's really what's up. And this is brought to you by
sponsors.
Our sponsors. First of all, starting with us, the Solar Flare Natives, the Order of the Solar Flare Natives. You know what I mean? Zulu Union stand up.
Zulu Union.
You know what I mean? Soul Trust Records, because we're musicians and hip hoppers. Indeed. Each 9 Teach 9, Culture Chronicles, and of course, Crumb TV. All right. Now that we got our sponsors out of the way, we can get our monies. They can get their monies. All right, Phatz. So a little bit of credentials about you before we go forward about this.
Yes. Again, I am Phatz, Zulu Nation chapter leader, 5 years, Zulu Nation membership for 12 years now. Now a member of the Zulu Union, former member of Zulu Nation, now a member of the Zulu Union.
Okay.
So I've been king, and in the culture that is a very big deal. To be king, that means you have been chosen by the community for the works that you've done in hip hop. So I have been chosen by my hip hop community and peers of the hip hop education community and abroad to become a Zulu king.
Static and feedback, they're saying. Oh man, I wonder why that would be that way. I really do. Static and feedback. I mean, can you hear us at all? Anyway, keep going back.
Yeah. So pretty much that's who I am. For a long time have been into the history and the culture of hip hop. Have practiced the elements, 3 of the 5 elements of hip hop, of the culture of hip hop, for over 30 years. Knowledge of self, emceeing, and I'm a b-boy as well. So I've taken care of my elemental credentials, if you will. But now I am a scholar and an educator of hip hop knowledge.
What's up, Nate? All right, it's fixed. Okay. I had auto adjust on the microphone. Come on, StreamYard. All right. I think we good. Thank you guys so much. That feedback is needed.
Appreciate that.
So you the man.
Yeah. I'm trying
look,
to be. I'm trying to be. You know what I'm saying? I'm on my way. We're on our way. Let's go.
So we're part of Cypher. So we're a couple.
Good.
You know what I mean? We've been together for a long, long time, like 23 years. You know what I mean? But so I'm not when I rub butter on this brother, it's not because I lay my head on the pillow with him at night, even though that helps. But it's also because he's a very brilliant brother. And this book is I'm very hip hop, and I thought I was hip hop really until we started putting this book together. He wrote it, I edited it, and we're gonna get into it. So what is the book called?
The book is called Offstage.
All right, let's see.
The Culture of Hip Hop Before the Elements.
Okay, so it's called Offstage, Culture of Hip Hop Before the Elements.
Yes.
All right. So what do you mean culture of hip hop before the elements?
Well, there's a culture of hip hop before the elements. We'll definitely be getting into this when we get into the reading of the book. But we have been practicing only one part. Once you look at the definition of culture, we've only been practicing one part of what the true definition of culture is. Okay. You know what I mean? And there are also beliefs, there are also social behavior patterns, and most importantly, there are also institutions based on an intellectual capacity of a people, which represent their culture as well. A pyramid or a ziggurat or something that is left to represent their culture.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But we've left, that part has been ignored for far too long. So hip hop has certain responsibilities. It should look a certain way.
Okay.
And
by this age, right?
Yes.
Which is at least 45, 50, maybe according to you, maybe 55, 60 years old.
Yeah, well they say 47. I'm 47. Of course, I was born the day before August 10th, 1973, the day before the
August
infamous
11th.
the day before the infamous August 11th date. Okay. You know what I mean? So, you know.
So they say that they're saying that hip hop starts there, but you saying hip hop don't. But hold on. So we all over the place. I want to make sure y'all understand what's going on. So we're going over this book. Phatz's whole thing about this book is the fact that hip hop is a powerful grassroots tool, and it's not just something that you want to use one aspect of, like rhyming or b-boying or emceeing. That's dope. We MCs. Phatz is a b-boy. I write graph. I love the elements. But hip hop is a culture, and just because you do the elements, that does not make you hip hop, nor is that the only thing that hip hop is about. And it's like I said earlier, it's like having a Swiss Army knife and you just using the knife, you know, and you got all this other stuff on the knife, you know what I mean, that you could use, corkscrews and everything else, and bottle openers and toenail clippers, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So hip hop is like that, and unfortunately, one reason why we don't have anything as a people is because we keep kind of going back and forth about the elements, arguing about who can rhyme the best, arguing about who can b-boy the best, and it's time for some eldership. You know what I mean?
I mean, well, you know, that's in all honesty, that's kind of one of the problems that we're dealing with in hip hop right now. Well, as a people, period, we're having serious leadership issues. Hip hop, hip hop culture is definitely currently suffering from some leadership issues, and to me, that is because we have pretty much ignored the part of our culture that is the most solution oriented, the most intelligent. The part that puts us in African American history, Black history, the part that puts us in American history, period. You know what I mean? Quiet as kept, some of the youngest, political masterminds, you know what I mean, come out of hip hop culture. And we're going to get into that, you know what I mean? So again, as a part of this culture thing that it's been there. Some of us have definitely been trying. I'm not the only one who's been trying to expose this, was about to pop off or whatever, but this is just the most important part. You know what I mean? If we do this part, then the coronavirus would have meant nothing to us if we were doing hip hop the way we were supposed to be doing hip hop by now. We shouldn't be 47 years old and still dealing with police brutality. So, you know.
So
just as an example.
You said a mouthful though, because it's time for the elders to step up in hip hop and do more than just rap or try to compete with people who are rapping. It's nice to see Busta, for instance, who just came out with an album, actually building and dropping jewels on the youth about his path. When you walk that hip hop path, especially from the 90s and before, you peace God, what's up God? It was a knowledge of self type thing, and you wielded your rhymes like a weapon as well. Not like a weapon to hurt people though. Like you was trying to like ignite somebody's mental or whatever. You trying to spark their mental. You know, that's how we used to talk or whatever. But it's about hip hop legacy building. You know what I mean? So hip hop legacy building with the youth is being neglected. You know what I mean? And we need eldership. You know what I mean?
Yeah, hip hop belongs to the children. We're gonna get into that. Hip hop was started by children. We're about to get into the real nitty gritty of everything. But and the children don't know that. The children are looking at what the music industry has provided with them.
Right.
And we're looking at hip hop as a culture that started with 4 elements, and now it's this misogynistic, materialistic. It's this thing, and everybody's just calling everything that's going on in the music industry hip hop.
Right.
And what you're really listening to rap music. The culture of hip hop has no control over the music industry. So you're listening to rap music, like the DJ disappeared. You know, used to have dance groups that when dancers behind rap, all of the rest of hip hop disappeared. So we need to take that back. But we need to show the children the legacy, and the legacy starts in the hood.
Right. I'm about to say the children can't see us taking it back, begging for it. They got to see us just claiming it and making it what it is again.
And then we as hip hop, you know, a lot of our celebrities, and bless their heart, continued success and everything. But look, picture those of us trying to teach children the culture of hip hop in the streets, or the children themselves looking at you literally brag about this neighborhood. I mean, you live in hip hop. We know that geography is important. MCs and rappers stand on where they come from. They be dipped up, but the neighborhood be about to get gentrified. And people are still dealing with various issues in the neighborhood.
Right.
But then when we go back, we'll throw them a picnic. You know, we'll do something like that or whatever, and then we gone. You know what I mean?
Right.
But we need, again, where are those institutions?
Right.
You know what I mean? That our children and the babies, and we all need, you know, in hip hop culture. You know what I mean? So
I'm just gonna say a few more things, and then we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna pour a libation in a minute. When we start the book, when we do the dedication, we're gonna pour a libation and start reading the book. So basically, what you're tuned into is Phatz is gonna read his book Off Stage. We're gonna be reading it every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, it's a really good book. I'm not just saying that. If you want to cook your dinner, sit back, relax, put your headphones on, whatever it is, I really recommend you do that. If you are really interested in hip hop, like really learning about it, and even if you think you really know about it, sit and listen, because I guarantee you it's a good read. It's not, it's not that long, and you'll be enlightened no matter how hip hop you are. And I think you'll realize that you are hip hop, and you might not even really realize you are. We said that the way hip hop is being treated now, it's making it only about the elements, making it only about the arts, eliminates many of its contributors out of its history. So Phatz's book is really, really dedicated to the unsung people of hip hop who didn't necessarily spin on their backs, or who didn't never scratch nothing. And not that we're not going to talk about the elements, because it does come up, but we're going to be going before 1973, starting from 65, and going on a whole journey. All right. So going forward, this book stands as a contribution to that legacy of hip hop nation building, and this is not a complaint manual. Phatz is not trying to diss nobody.
No,
nothing. He's just trying to add on.
The thing is, add on, for those of you who understand, the whole knot. That is a part of our culture. We add on.
Right.
It's not. We're coming to build, not destroy. You know what I'm saying? Big up to the 5% nation of gods and earths. We coming to build, not destroy. We coming to add on to the knowledge and the information that has been given before us. There's just a crucial part that is missing, and it will be missing no longer.
All right, so y'all make sure you like, comment, and share. Where's me banner? Make sure you like, comment, and share. If you got a dip, please don't. But if you do, please like, comment, and share. Hell, if you're feeling generous, run a watch party on it, fam.
Yeah.
So you can get more people in the community in on this. So, TV. That's us, by the way. That's Phatz saying Chrome TV in the front, and that's me saying it in the back. Because we do voiceovers, fam.
You know what it is.
All right, so let's get into it. Let me pull the book up. Let me pull the book. So there's a culture of hip hop that predates what we're saying is the date. So what are people saying is the date again?
Well, everybody says that the date of hip hop culture, the hip hop culture starting, is August 11th, 1973, at a party.
Okay, at a party on Cedric and Cedar.
Right.
DJed by
Cool Herc.
Cool Herc.
Yes.
So we call this the era that we about to go into. Where's that jank at? You see it? Where is it? That's a lot of banners up here. The prehistoric era. This is a hip hop word that we just coined. And the prehistoric era obviously is before the story of Herc hits the scene, and everybody acts like everyone's just hip hop after Herc hits the scene. All right, so let me pull up the book them. This is the cover them. All right. So right now this is $10. It's an ebook. You can get it right now, and you can have it on your phone and read it with us as we go forward in the next week, so whatever you want to do. But you're about to get a reading for free, so take it from me.
Yeah,
sit
check
back
it out,
and relax.
live with it. Yeah, I really appreciate it, y'all. Let's get it.
Let's get it. All right, I'm just trying to figure out how to use my mesh, y'all. There it is. All right. So, Offstage, the prehistoric era. Offstage, the culture of hip-hop before the elements, by Jason Phatz Kirkman. Y'all, we're going to change this logo here soon. We're going to superimpose it with our own logo, because the Zulu Nation, we had some political issues, and we had to make some moves or whatever. So Right Just Works Publishing, copyright blah blah blah. Table of contents, blah, blah, blah. All right, here we go. So we're about to pour a libation real quick.
You
about to do this dedication.
You want me to read it, babe? Or you gonna pour while I read, or you
I'll,
gonna read?
I'll read them. Now, these are a list of people who died while this book was being written, correct?
Yes.
And people who we want to dedicate it to, just anyway, or it's only people who died.
It's people who passed away during the passing of this book, and maybe a couple of other special dedications of mine.
Okay, so a few people have died since then. If you want to put them in the comments, please do. Or if you just want to say them to your mind, and we're going to run an ashe. So we're going to pour some libations. If y'all can see that back there. Okay, so Asada Shakur.
Ashe.
Lovebug Starsky.
Ashe.
Chuck Freeze.
Ashe.
Phase 2.
Ashe.
Benji Melendez.
Ashe.
Spider.
Ashe.
Sunshine.
Ashe.
Bushwick Bill.
Ashe.
Fife Dog.
Ashe.
Nipsey Hussle.
Ashe.
Andre Harrell.
Ashe.
Papa Wu.
Ashe.
Bill Withers.
Ashe.
Betty Wright.
Ashe.
Lil Richard.
Ashe.
Fred the Godson.
Ashe.
Kobe Bryant.
Ashe.
Dr. Francis Cress Welsing.
Ashe.
Dr. Sabi.
Ashe.
Dr. Laila Africa.
Ashe.
Lava Straight Man Mercado.
Ashe.
Ahmaud Arbery.
Ashe.
And to all the others, Ashe.
George Floyd.
Ashe.
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 Ashe. Breonna Taylor.
And Breonna Taylor. Anybody y'all want to add, throw them in the comments. And let's get an ashe from y'all as well.
Ashe.
All right, so we started this thing off right. It can't do nothing but go right from here. So here's the preface written by me. And I like to apologize if there's any. This is very grassroots written book. So if there's any typos, sorry.
We did good.
We did good. I think, you know what I mean? All right. Okay. A few years back, Phatz and I were involved in a hip-hop summer camp, working with youth and young adults. Our mission was to give them a thorough education about hip-hop's origin and history. As chapter leader and head Malika of the Universal Zulu Nation Chapter 30, we saw it as our sworn duty to teach lessons that were as accurate as possible. As we began to study what various renowned hip-hop scholars had to say about its history, we noticed a lot of discrepancies in the narrative. The main one being how most historians start off hip-hop history with DJ Kool Herc. But hip-hop is more than just DJing, it's a culture. The groundwork for which was laid long before Herc stepped foot in New York. Phatz began spending much of his spare time studying hip-hop's pre-Herc-storic history. By the time the camp ended, researching hip-hop's pre-elemental landscape had become a true labor of love for him. So much so that he decided to write a book. Lots of people say they want to write a book. They never do, though. Or they start, but they never finish. As the wife of a brother with a brilliant mind, hey, I was pleased when Phatz told me he wanted to author a book of his own. He is, after all, a dope MC and an excellent writer. But honestly speaking, I didn't think he had time in his busy schedule to be a father, a husband, a provider, a small business owner, and write a book. That's a lot of work, I thought to myself. But we always support each other, so I said, hey, go for it. Needless to say, I was overjoyed to see Phatz diligently compiling his notes, spending long night after long night, pulling together chapter after chapter, really infusing this thing with blood, sweat, and tears. Witnessing this, I discovered how deeply he was willing to dig to uncover hip-hop culture's untold stories. Still, the sweetest thing about watching all this was knowing that I was witnessing history in the making. Having a sense that this particular body of work is somehow going to change everything. The privilege of watching it all unfold, it's really a good feeling. During its making, the book has received many blessings. One notable blessing is how the book got its title. On April 29, 2017, Phatz and I, Soul Trust Records, worked in conjunction with the House of Consciousness in Norfolk, to bring Public Enemy's own Professor Griff to lecture and announce his new book at the time entitled Symbology, The Psychological Covert War on Hip-Hop. This was our first time meeting him. He was a cool brother. Later in 2018, the Hawk invited Griff to return and speak. Phatz picked up Professor Griff from the airport to take him to the event. During the ride, Phatz shared with Griff that he was writing a book about hip-hop's early unsung legends, about how self-sufficient they were and about the untold story of hip-hop culture pre-DJ Herc. Professor Griff, an already seasoned author and historian, blessed Phatz by offering the name OFFSTAGE to his book, which at the time was called Let's Do Something for Ourselves. Griff also encouraged Phatz to make sure he finished his book, no matter what. So that's a picture of when we brought him down. I took a picture of them, Phatz interviewing Griff right there. Of course, Phatz was amped by this. I said that so proper. Of course, Phatz was amped by this, which really motivated him to keep pushing and to give this book his everything. After all, if the universe sends you Professor Griff from Public Enemy, who in turn blesses your book with an awesome title, you've got to finish it. And that's exactly what he did. I personally watched Phatz pour all of his soul into it, and that's why I'm extremely proud to be a part of making this book. It is a work dedicated to the spirit of culture, history, and of self-sufficiency in the face of extreme adversity. In closing, let me say that I thought I was hip-hop until I read this book. Now I see that, like many other so-called hip-hoppers, I have been focusing...
You skipped it.
I skipped it. Oh, there it is. Now, okay, let me do it again. Now I see that I, like many other so-called hip-hoppers, have been focusing way too much on the artistic elements. MC, DJ, b-boy, and graph writer, and not nearly enough on what makes hip-hop so powerful. The culture, baby. Your point of origin reveals the overall mission of your existence. All right, thanks y'all who are tuning in and like, comment, you know what I mean, all that stuff. We're going to display your comments in a minute. So take over, Phatz.
The rhyme and the reason. It is the times that defines the rhyme and reason for this book. There seems to be no purpose these days in the streets or in hip-hop. 40 plus years of a culture have given destitute streets a purpose. But what is it? Do we know? Was it to create and spread a new genre of music for other people to exploit and become wealthy off of? Was it to stop gang violence by turning street terrorists to turntablists? We don't know. Through my reading, research, and life experience, I feel as though there are some key points of our hip-hop culture we are missing. The most crucial part to anyone's history is its genesis. Your point of origin reveals the overall mission of your existence. Your culture simply dictates how you are to live and conduct your true self in accordance to the code of the universe. This also gives those who are not a part of the culture a guide on who we are, and why we do what we do. A lack of cultural awareness can cause serious problems with the people and their progress as a whole. The best example I can think of is the plight of African Americans who don't know or care to know of their origins. As a result, while our ancestors were the front runners of civilization, we as their descendants today don't seem to do anything civil. This is a reflection of a lack of knowledge of self, true self, our first self. We seem this way because of our disconnect with our culture, and we've come to find that when adverse forces are left to tell your story for you, they control your outcome. If you start your history from slavery, everything else will look like progress. John Henry Clark.
Come on.
Hip-hop is suffering from the same disease of an ignorance of true self. Most people tend to think of hip-hop's beginnings as merely the core elements that were set through the natural progression of hip-hop's early existence. If hip-hop was a person walking up the street, he or she would have a black book in a book bag containing pieces you might see on a train or a building. He or she would carry a boombox around, then hook a turntable up to play some rare funky tunes. And when the song breaks down, this person will snap and break off a creative combination of James Brown, martial arts, and dances from the neighborhood. And they get up and ask you to repeat after him or her until all the troubles of the Bronx are forgotten in that moment. No doubt. We got that part. But you know, KRS expressed a statement that we as hip-hoppers began to live by. Rap is something you do. Hip-hop is something you live. I propose that we add all the other core elements to what we do as well. In essence, what I'm saying is we see and understand what a hip-hop person does, but how does that hip-hop person truly live? Who is this person, really? We heard about the social storm he or she had to endure. After they weathered the storm, that's when the party started. When something as powerful as hip-hop comes into play, there is usually a story of trials and tribulations the players of the game had to go through before they achieve success. Sometimes this is the part of the story that gets overlooked, when in reality, it's the hard times, the challenges, and how the people in those times handled themselves that really define those people. That's who they really are. We know what's up with the gangs. We know the statistics of the oppression, but why? These late 60s, early 70s Bronx tales aren't your everyday neighborhood story. What was in the air to spark what has been known as the policy of benign neglect that was practiced by the New York City government? What was the message they were sending to the people? Now, I don't know how the Bronxians became the gangster savages of this equation. But what I do know is two things. Number one, the conditions of these atrocities brought truth to the meaning of survival of the fittest. Number two, there is a pre-elemental era of hip-hop that we, as so-called hip-hop connoisseurs, must acknowledge. I say that because the true definition of hip-hop lies in the eyes and footprints of the young Bronxians. Yeah, imagine living in that, y'all. Going to school in that.
Look at that. They taking selfies. They standing in the rubble kings. Children.
Taking pictures. Look, they going to school, y'all.
Look at that. The hip-hop historian disclaimer. Hip-hop's history was told first like any other history, orally. We all know the science of how, when an original story is spoken, those that told that same story later may have altered it due to what they saw and believed in their time. Needless to say, this factor is an understatement when trying to research the history and culture of hip-hop. There were so many people involved in our history that were in so many places, each having their path to express as a contribution. When you add the known conditions of New York in these times, you've got all sorts of factors we need to take into consideration. We've got deaths, key parts of the story we may never hear, substance abuse, bad memories, pride, ego, pestilence, and children running the show, to name a few. One thing I've noticed in my research is a pattern that almost every elder that has been in an interview for a documentary or for a book seems to do. When asked for a year in time to pinpoint an event, they give a 2-year answer. This is how the dialogue goes. Researcher: so when did that take place? Elder:
It was around 74 or 75. It was around 71 or 72.
My theories are based on some of the factors we touched on earlier. Let's not forget that by the time some of our elders get interviewed, 10, sometimes 20 years or more have gone by. Something else we have to realize is that not all of our elders were dropouts. A lot of them were in school. School years are how some children gauge their time of year. School years start in September of one year and end in June of the next year. That may be another reason why our elders gave these 2-year answers. So y'all, they was kids now. A lot of times we, yeah, we forget that. They 14, 15 years old.
Yeah.
In any case, enough information has been compiled to build a timeline which is a core ingredient in the history of anything. This book was created by gathering key links and missing links to the untold part of hip-hop's story. It's the plight of the historian. We do the best we can to give the most accurate account of the past as possible. Unfortunately, testimonies, text, films, and sometimes hearsay may be all a historian has to go on to bring history to light. Remember this: in the beginning, there were no published references about hip-hop's history in which to find facts, no various texts to compare. The early documentarians only had the Bronx and its people giving them their stories. These stories are documented through a few sources at first. A general consensus on the facts told a story of hip-hop in its early beginnings. Some of these facts became cultural law. Over the years, technology stepped in. You can now go online and uncover a wide variety of resources to find out about anything. This has created a couple of obstacles for the modern-day hip-hop historian. Homemade media has created millions of experts and critics of these experts, having you waste time listening to their opinions on the so-called facts. Homemade media has also been able to reach key people and uncover information that sometimes may challenge the earlier stories told. Come on, Phatz. When you think of it, all of history goes through this same cycle. The more archaeologists dig around in Egypt, the further back Egypt's history goes, and the more the picture changes. The addition of new information is what makes hip-hop history a never-ending story. This composition is just another installment in the infinite volumes of the history of hip-hop. The never-ending story.
Just adding on.
Yeah, I mean, the Old Testament. All right, so hold up. Let's give a few of these comments right quick. This is a good time to take a break and get some comments. Glad y'all tuned in. I'm just going to throw some comments on the screen real quick. You know what I mean? Beloved ancestors, Ashe. We got some Ashes in there. Yes, Ashe. Peace to everybody that's still here.
Peace,
Make sure
peace.
you like and share, comment, all the good stuff.
Yes,
all right.
yes.
Back to the lecture at hand.
What up, Bryce?
You know what I mean? Oh, hold on. Let me remove that off of there, though. What's up, Bryce? Okay. Technology, 1, 2, 3. All right. The first element, fight the power.
Fight the power. We've got to fight the powers that be. Public enemy. Fighting the powers that be is a task taken on by only a chosen few. Those that have chosen to fight the power might have seen something that disgusted them morally. These power fighters may be victims of an oppressing or life-changing situation. This may have left them no choice but to counterattack based on the bare human street code of protecting your neck. Some were born into fighting the powers that be, like Tupac Shakur. Others are historians and have discovered a pattern of tyranny and want no association whatsoever with these powers. It seems sometimes that there are some strange games being played with the lives of people. Having to be in a system that acts as if it opposes your very existence is enough to make a soldier out of anyone. The children of the Bronx between the years of 1965 and 1974 could have sat and watched New York City fail. The government didn't even pretend to act like they were concerned with the welfare of their community. The Bronxians could have continued to ask or wait for help they knew won't coming, but they didn't do that. Good thing, too, because a lot more people would have died from all kinds of causes we don't talk about. These young people decided to take matters into their own hands and created remedial coalitions disguised as brotherhoods, sisterhoods, movements, and small regimes, also known as gangs, to establish some type of order in the midst of chaos. When other people look out for the hood, they call it neighborhood watch.
When other people look out for their hood.
Yeah, thank you. When other people look out for their hood, they call it neighborhood watch. When we look out for our hood, we a gang. The Guard Ancestor Sunshine, 1st Division Black Spade. The police department wasn't a police department. It was notoriously corrupt. So there pretty much wasn't any law. You can refer to American Gangster, on the movie about Frank Lucas, to give you an idea, what was going on as far as that. In fact, you can consider the police department as a gang on the streets, only with codes and statutes to protect them. So how do you cope with the unavoidable task of living in a world with no hope? To establish what we now know as hip hop, the Bronxians could not be the products of the environment that New York left for them. They had to create an environment and a way of life for themselves, by themselves. This required taking sole responsibility for self, kind, and their survival. The young Bronx generation added a key ingredient to the stew, an ingredient that is a founding pillar of hip-hop's early manifestation. It is the often overlooked mentality of self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency, the ability to provide for oneself without the help of others. Independent. This is a counter thesis to this book. Self-sufficiency is indeed a quiet but crucial variable in the cultural equation of the young Bronxians. They came to the understanding that it was all up to them if they were going to survive. This concept should be brought to the table more often when we brainstorm solutions to our current plight as a hip-hop nation. Even us hardcore hip-hop heads don't put enough emphasis on the importance of independence and its role in hip-hop history, and we really should. In this colonized world, hip-hop gives a non-dependent power and social mobility to those that know it. Ras Bernard Benzema. Here's what a lot of people may not realize about the pre-elemental era of hip-hop. New York City was very irresponsible, which gave the Bronxians the freedom to set laws, codes, and jurisdictions to govern themselves as they saw fit. The people's way was the way, period. With little to no resources, the young Bronx generation were able to survive as children from 1965 to 1974. The term do for self takes on a whole new meaning. You have independence when no one dictates who you are, how you look, or what you do, but you. One of the most important things one should hold as their own is their identity. Without that, you are subject to others' interpretation of how they feel about your movement. Who better to tell hip-hop's story than those who fought the system, then created the culture? I don't think we can find anyone on the planet more qualified than those who wrote its story with blood, sweat, and tears. So what happened? I'm sure we all have noticed the conflicts in terms of hip hop history over the past couple of decades or so. Who is and who's not hip hop, and why has been one of the top topics of discussion among us in the hip hop culture. One of the main reasons for this lack of clarity is the fact that hip hop is usually presented as a musical genre and not a culture. A lot of the elders in their interviews state how we didn't expect this thing we was doing to blow up. We was just doing our thing. At the time, they were just living their lives, actually being hip hop. They didn't really see the need to document every little thing. Let's not forget they were children.
Right.
And just partying and surviving. Scratching and
surviving. Hanging in a jar.
But now that hip hop has currently become a multi-billion-dollar industry and has almost swallowed all other genres, we find ourselves in a dilemma. On one end, a lot of people interpret the history of hip hop through the discography of rap music and not the culture. On the other end, overlooked information on the history may cause us to have to rewrite it, literally. We look up, and the core culture elders are still restless about the lack of accuracy and major player neglect in the telling of our story. After watching documentaries, people still find themselves encompassed in the wars between real and fake, genre versus culture, rapper or MC, and I could go on. Many thanks to all who've documented the culture to this point, but there's still something missing. I've noticed in my research that there's always seemed to be somebody that nobody interviewed with key pieces to the story that further defines us as a people in terms of what hip hop is. So what is hip hop? Is it just graffiti, b-boying, DJing, and emceeing? Or is hip hop the manifestation of something bigger? Tell me, what role should the people of hip hop play in today's society? The best place to find the answer would be to find out what the first people of hip hop did when they were off stage.
Off stage. When they were what, Daddy?
Off stage.
All right. So if you just joining in, we're talking and we're reading my man's book. It's called Off Stage. It's about the prehistoric era of hip hop. Make sure you comment, like, and share. If I could be more on point, here we go. Make sure you comment, like, and share. You know what I'm saying? As we read Off Stage about the prehistoric era, you're looking at Novakane Omega, Phatz of the Culture Chronicles. We talk about hip hop legacy building and so on. All right, let's get back into it. We'll be doing this every Tuesday. If you missed the beginning of this, don't worry. You know, you can always rewind it, obviously. But come on back next Tuesday and see the rest of what we're doing. Where am I at here? Y'all, I don't know how to do this. Hold up. Bang. You cannot keep it 100 if you don't have the whole story. Culture. The totality of socially transmitted behavior patterns, arts, beliefs, institutions, and all other products of human thought. These products are considered the expression of a particular period, class, community, or population. It is crucial to keep the acknowledgement of past generations vibrant in one's own actions. The importance of this is to maintain the core principles of a culture, so that the people in their culture are properly represented through time. Back in the day, new ways of thought were discovered to give an awareness of self. This new awareness gave the founders of hip-hop a value that society wasn't willing to give them. They were able to identify and define themselves for themselves. This in turn bred self-pride. Add a bunch of organized activism, and you had a culture being born with the self-preservation of its people as its mission. With that being said, we don't have all we need to constitute our true and entire story. The nation of gods and earths like to use the term
5% nation.
Thank you. The 5% nation of gods and earth.
We don't want no trouble.
We don't want no trouble. We don't want no trouble. We know one trouble. I know one trouble. The 5% nation of gods and earths like to use the term right and exact. You cannot keep it 100 if you don't have the whole story. This book is about paying homage to those that laid the way. For those who laid the way. There are cycles to one's life. If your culture defines your life, then it only makes sense that culture goes through cycles too. That's what keeps them relevant to the times they exist through. Cycles are like circles. Hip-hop as a culture needs to go back to its lost but found principles of self-sufficiency. When you draw a circle, you always go back to the point where you started. People have been drawing a spiral that has been spinning out of control due to endless debates because of a lack of knowledge and information. We haven't been going back to our original point of contact. Hip-hop keeps concentrating on the elements. Even though a culture needs an art form to express itself, the culture's existence must come first. A person or people must show themselves before they can express themselves. You must appear before you speak. Ain't it right? There are words, ways, and codes hip-hop had in place before it could express itself properly to the world. If you pay attention to any art form, then you know that artists express the pain and struggles they have experienced or are experiencing through their art forms. Hip-hop is no exception. The music is full of stories of pain, but historically, the deepest hardships and those who endured them are largely overlooked. Thus, there is an invisible hole in the storyline that currently causes continuous confusion. I like them C's. That currently causes continuous confusion.
MC.
MC. Because people think they know hip-hop's true history, but they kind of don't. People usually know the history of the elements only, but the elements came later. The true culture came first. The confusion ends here. We can no longer think we can just praise the New Testament. Hey, one's culture should be based on much more than liking the break of a song. We must from this day forth know that there are no elements without the Old Testament. Laying the groundwork through hip-hop's rough and rugged roots of survival activism. Come on, Phatz. Look at him, again. Just enjoying life. Not a care in the world. It's just like COVID, y'all.
Trying to.
Take some notes. This just like COVID. When you ain't got nothing, got to turn inward and do for self. Adverse forces. The reason for the season.
If everything was all good, then what adventures would life bring? There is no good without the bad. Through wisdom, you find that there are balanced forces in the universe. Magnetism and electricity both operate on positive and negative charges. When and where are the proper times to be positive and negative? That's the mystery. When there is too much of either, are we ready to respond properly? If you pin a dog into a corner, you will see the negative side of that dog manifest to get itself out of that corner. Try doing harm to a loving mother's child. Hell has no fury like the rage that can burst out of a woman whose child has been harmed. When people feel as though they have nothing to lose, there tends to be a change in places where lines may have once been drawn. When your back is against the wall, what is your philosophy? The natural reflex seems to be to match the opposition with an equal amount of negative energy. Some call it survival of the fittest. Others call it the natural order of things. The forces that surrounded the elders of the Bronx in the 60s and 70s were adverse forces, to say the least. From overdose parents to destructive public policy, there was not much in life to look forward to. Picture that. Nobody seems to want you around, and only a handful of people seem to care. Who is responsible for this racket anyway? Who holds true credit for this horrendous environment? What negative adverse forces combine to influence the elements of the Big Bang of hip-hop's creation?
Bronx criminology. All right, we're about to get into it now, y'all. All right. The Castellammarese Wars. I think that's about good as I'm going to do.
That sounds good, babe.
In 1929 to 1931. When you want to know the true reasons for what happens in your community, you must go to the source. These days, everybody knows that the mafia is an Italian creation and manifestation. New York and the mafia have a long marriage. Organized crime in the Big Apple has also been rumored to have roots in the mafia as well. So it's safe to say that the mafia is a strong candidate for why criminology is just a part of New York culture as a whole. Think about it. How many times How many times have you heard an Italian's name in a rhyme from an MC or a rapper from New York? In 1929, there was war in the streets for power and control over the mafia. In one corner, it was Joe the Boss Messeria, and in the other corner, Salvatore Maranzano. Both of them came from Castellamare del Golfo in Sicily. Thus, we have the Castellammarese Wars. It was said to be nothing short of a bloodbath with an unknown number of lives lost. And y'all, when we looked up the pictures for these, it was just like that. They had photography at that time, so it was pictures of dead people all on the ground. Lucky Luciano ended the war by murdering Joe the Boss Messeria during a card game in a restaurant. Salvatore Maranzano became the boss of bosses. Word has it that the power went to his head, which is to be expected given the circumstances. His power trip led to his eventual murder. Some say that another reason Luciano killed Miseria was for fear of his own life being taken. In 1931, Luciano went on to form what is known as the Commission. He staged a meeting in Belmont on Washington Ave near 187th in the Bronx, or near 187th in the Bronx. There, he assembled the 5 crime families, the Mafia. So the Genovese of the Mafia, the Genovese, Gambino, Bonanno, Lucchese, and Colombo. Luciano went on to rearrange power to be distributed equally among the families with a democracy amongst its leaders. There are still echoes to this day of the power and control of the Mafia. This is just a reminder that a great percentage of the criminal activity in New York, especially the Bronx, from the 1920s till now, has been overseen by the Italians. Words like gang, gangster, drive-by, and hitman, to name a few, have their roots in the Mafia. Not in hip-hop, y'all. Whether it's then or now, who is the law on the streets? Are politicians cooperating with the police or with organized crime syndicates? You bet your bottom dollar they are. Is it the street families we call gangs that regulate the law of the land? Who's the criminal if crime is oftentimes assisted by the so-called law? Does anyone care? Makes you wonder why we think there was a line between the government and crime in the first place. All right, so these are some of the folks here. If y'all know anything about this, chime in. If you're a historian, chime in. We're about to really get it in with this next guy right here.
Also, I just want to let y'all know that this book, I will definitely be doing a revised version of this book. Like said in the beginning of the Hip Hop History Disclaimer, we are still looking for things. So if there's anyone here from New York and you're a historian or you were there, you have some information to pass, please, you know what I mean, hit me up, let me know, you know what I mean, so we can add on. We want to build and not destroy. And
if you're Italian too, a lot of times, you know, we're going to research our own people, and that's fine with me. But, you know, if you're Italian and you know what's up, you know, like, yeah, I was there, my grandma, you know, dated so-and-so or whatever, you know, chime in.
Yeah, we need all the puzzle pieces, so.
Yeah. I like to hear. We like to hear from the horse's mouth around here. All right. So continuing on, a Lord of New York, Robert Moses. This is him, looking like a duck and a penguin put together. All right.
The landscape of the South Bronx took a serious turn for the worse in the 1950s. The blame can be put on the ambitions of a city planner by the name of Robert Moses. He was deemed by his peers as the master builder. He rose to supreme power with the surge of post-World War II government funding. Between 1946 and 1954, no public improvement of any type in New York was built by any city agency unless Moses approved its design and location. This was also during the most intense public construction in New York City's history. He was the architect of 658 playgrounds, 150,000 housing units, 13 bridges, and 416 miles of highway. He also built the United Nations building in Manhattan. It is astonishing how he obtained so much power from the 20s to the 60s. He held appointed positions at both city and state levels simultaneously. It was said that he, at one time, occupied 12 positions at once. He was the New York City Parks Commissioner, head of the State Parks Council, chairman of the Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority, and the head of the State Powers Commission. According to Mr. Moses' resume, he was the man next to the man, and the man next to that man. Because of his power, there seemed to be no one to stop him in any way, shape, or form from doing whatever he wanted to do in New York. We would only hope that a man with such power would be a man of consideration for all citizens of the city he serves. Unfortunately, history tells us that Robert Moses and his plans did not consider the lives of over 250,000 people in the Big Apple during his reign. 60,000 of these people were affected by a lofty project Robert Moses started in 1948. He constructed the Cross Bronx Expressway. His construction of the Cross Bronx Expressway puts him forever in the history of hip-hop for ushering in the devastation of the South Bronx. The placement of the expressway showed blatant disrespect towards certain citizens of the Bronx. He seemed more concerned with the people who were going to be using the freeway than the people affected by its location and construction. This can also be said because some engineers said that he could have built the CBE, Cross Bronx Expressway, along Crotona Park and only affected 1 to 2% of the people he devastated. At the same time, all over the country, freeways and interstates are being built right through hundreds of ignored communities in a quest to connect the states. A coincidence? Maybe. He was accused of favoring what was called car culture. This was the concept of looking for more ways people with cars could travel. This was a way of bypassing the needs of the less fortunate who could not afford a car at the time. Who campaigns against public transportation when most of the population needs it? Who says things like, there are just more people in the way, when asked about people who lived in his plan's path? The public began trying to figure out the methods of his madness.
That's him overlooking his many building projects, just as antisocial as the devil standing there.
He's probably a robot.
He's probably a robot.
Controversy soon set in on his ways. Most of the victims of his endeavors were noticeably of African or Latino descent. He was labeled a segregationist by peers and enemies. The plans for the CBE took place in the 40s. America was very much segregated at the time. It is not far-fetched for him to plan a segregated New York using interstate systems as racial barriers. The first stage of construction was the Bronx River Parkway and ended in 1955. The second phase was started in 1957 as a part of the interstate highway system, which is the Bruckner. They were completed in 1963 and 1972. By the end of the 60s, over half of the white population had left the South Bronx. This has been termed the white flight. Word has it, they were given a new community built by Moses that provided a proper place for comfortable survival. Our elders and ancestors did not receive the same warm treatment. We all know how the South Bronx ended up looking. Banged out and depleted.
Bombed out and depleted. What could be said about the South Bronx that hasn't already been said about Afghanistan? All right, my bad.
It's all good. That's our joke. Okay. If Robert Moses had been concerned with the welfare of the South Bronx, hip-hop as we know it today would not exist. It just goes to show how negative forces, when dealt with, can unconsciously mold and shape you into what and who you need to be. Remember that when something in your life challenges you, it's because it's supposed to challenge you. Challenges provide great mirrors of character. You'll find out who you are when approached by negative adverse forces.
Look at him, tipping his hat. Don't look at me. All right, we're going to do one more chapter. And we're going to take a few questions, display some comments.
Build a little bit.
You know what I mean? Build a little teeny bit.
Yeah.
Get our sponsorship on. And we're going to let y'all go and make love to your husband or wife. All right. So let's talk about the Runaway Slave Patrol, a.k.a. the short arm of the law.
Uh-oh.
The first form of law enforcement in the United States took place in the Carolina colonies around 1704. They were known as the Slave Patrol. They had three primary responsibilities. 1, to hunt down, capture, and return runaway slaves to their owners. 2, to provide a form of organized terror to deter slaves from revolting. 3, to maintain a form of discipline for slave workers who were subject to justice outside of plantation rules. After the Civil War, these vigilante-style organizations evolved into good old Southern police departments. As a means of controlling freed slaves who were now laborers working in the agricultural caste system. They were also given the task of enforcing Jim Crow segregation laws, which denied free slaves equal rights and access to the political system. So it was their job, the police job was to enforce Jim Crow, not to look out for you at all. What's interesting to note is that before slaves tried to free themselves from bondage, there seemed to be no reason to have law enforcement. It seems as if Southern whites felt no need to police themselves. Let me say that right. It seems as if Southern whites felt no need to police themselves.
Very important.
The first form of law enforcement's only objective was the volatile control of blacks.
Okay.
Northern whites created a surveillance system where people watched activities of the night. So see this? Phatz ain't leaving out the North because people like to leave the North out. And the North was nice and racist, except cityfied. That was the only difference. Northern whites created a surveillance system where people watched activities of the night. They were there to warn of potential dangers, not crimes. New York created their night watch around 1658. Wow. It was not effective at stopping crime. A lot of times these duties served as a form of town punishment. Oh, so like the night watch.
Right.
Yeah, you was a criminal, so they sent you to be
you already did something about it. Like, so now they send you to actually, now they send you, the criminal, to uphold the law. Got you.
It wasn't until the 1830s that the idea of a centralized municipal police department first hit the United States. New York started theirs in 1845. This was a time when cities were growing and there was a demand to control disorder, not crime. In the early 19th century, city merchants supported police institutions through taxes and political pull. The rich and wealthy required more social control than criminal control. The commercial elite needed a mechanism to ensure a stable and orderly workforce and business environment. They also wanted free protection for their businesses. With the police force in place, the government began to foot the bill for the protection of the wealthy.
Yeah, before then, y'all, people had to, if you ever watched the movie Gangs in New York, I learned that in the movie Gangs in New York, if you couldn't, let's say your house caught on fire or somebody broke into your house, you had to pay the police to come, or the fire department. And if you couldn't pay them, they won't come in.
Also, if you was a nilka,
I mean, well, you know,
then
you probably couldn't even call them.
Your money won't no good anyway.
You probably couldn't even call them. You know what I'm saying? So
no question. They riding by your house indefinitely.
So sad.
Not only that, they setting your house on fire.
I guess you're right.
In conclusion, just like the Bronx, in conclusion, the police were not originally invented to stop crime.
It's very important.
It is important because I don't know why we begging these police to stop killing us. You see how they started.
How they were designed. That's what they were designed to do.
It's RoboCop.
Right.
They were formed to protect the interests of whoever controlled the finances.
Period.
Viewed from a historical standpoint, it's no wonder why the police treated the young Bronxians like crap, or any of us for that matter. You were put here to protect us, but who protects us from you?
KRS.
All right, so we're going to stop right there with the reading. I wanted to point out, too, about Robert Moses real quick. I just noticed that his last name is Moses, and he was relocating all of these people, the Jews and Italians and stuff, to other places. And
that's interesting.
I find that's interesting, like
that
a mass exodus, a.k.a. white flight. So his name is Bob Moses, and Bob Moses tips his hat.
And like I said, and at that time, the interstates, this was, Eisenhower was the president, and Eisenhower is responsible for the interstate system that we have in the United States. It was his... That was one of his things. You know, certain presidents are known for certain things. That's one of the things on Dwight D. Eisenhower's list, is basically making the military into a business and the interstate systems in America. Okay, we need to connect the states. We're tired of the dirt roads, and we need to go ahead and connect these states. So Robert Moses is pivotal in at least the New York aspect of connecting. That was his job, to connect New York to the rest of America. But at the same, like, you know, obviously, if you look at his objectives or whatever, they weren't necessarily for the minorities.
Well, like I said, what did he say when somebody said something to him about he said the people was in the way, basically.
Yeah, the people just
they said that he favored car culture, and that you know not people, that he kind of didn't even care about the white folks. Like, he's somebody who's kind of like a mad scientist.
Right.
All right, so let's display some of these comments. Do you have any questions? Let me see what y'all got, and we're gonna try our best to answer. Now's the time to ask. We'll talk for about another 10 minutes with y'all, and then you can catch us again next Tuesday. We'll get right into it, and we'll pick up from where we left off. All right, so we've been reading off stage. Let's see. I was born in the Bronx. Oh, yeah?
All right.
All right.
That's what's up.
Ooh, I'm in here like swimwear. You know what I'm saying?
Appreciate that.
All right. So let's see what else we got here. Some sports seasons are classified by 2 years, 2021.
True. Thank you. Good point.
That makes a lot of sense.
He's right.
And you know what? The winter goes over into 1 year to another too. So even if something lasts a winter season, it's gonna last 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, but that's what I mean, really. And for those of y'all who haven't, definitely hip hop is definitely poetry. It's one part. We're gonna get into why it's poetry later in the book. You know what I mean?
What were you about to say about that? You said for those of y'all who haven't.
Well, what was we saying?
What was we talking about?
Soybeans.
You know I don't know, boo-boo. We're just talking about the 2 year joint. I think that's what was sparking you to say. But it said the truth is within us. Let me display some of these comments. School is definitely in session. What's up, Sean?
Oh, yeah, that's what I was just saying. I just wanted to add on, just let everybody realize that when you do look at, in the hip-hop history disclaimer part of the book, when you go to study hip-hop culture, I encourage you to don't leave it to me, please. You know what I mean? Right. I encourage you, and you know, my book, other books, you'll notice that in documentaries they'll be like, 74 or 75, and take it from a person who's my desire, my calling is to put the hip hop timeline together. Peace. What up, Carl?
Warren?
Warren the jeweler. You know what I'm saying? I want to when you're trying to put that timeline together, that can be difficult. You know what I mean? And that also makes it so you got to work with certain things. Those of us that have been doing the best we can to put the culture together, we come into those obstacles. So for those of you who are coming into this hip hop thing or have been a part of it, but really want, what is this true purpose? Who did what or whatever? Because I'm actually putting a curriculum together. I'm teaching my boys. My boys are learning about hip hop culture this month. You know what I mean? I'm teaching them that in our story. They're our story class or whatever. But that timeline is crucial. That's really most important. Also, the order of the elements have been not put in the right order.
Yeah.
If you put them in chronological order, because people say, some say, you know what I'm saying? What up, Red?
What up, Redbird? 101.
Peace. What's up, bro? Peace.
Man.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I want to display this too. I know you dropping it, but
no
this
doubt.
is very well written and it captures you easily. Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Peace.
You know what I mean?
Peace. Some say that the fifth element is beatboxing. So I just want to let y'all know you may get a little confused. Some say that it's knowledge and knowledge itself. But in historical, chronological order, knowledge is first. You know what I mean? Knowledge itself is first. It's the first element, actually. It's the one that starts everything. That's why, wow, you did tell me that, Will. What up, Will?
Well, what up,
You know what I'm saying?
In my
Zulu,
hometown,
you
there's Robert Moses Middle School and Robert Moses Lake State Park.
Wow.
So I can only imagine how many different Robert Moses streets and
I'm
schools
sure.
and neighborhoods there are.
And he probably built them. You know what I'm saying? Y'all big. What up,
Long Island. So yeah,
Solar Flare Native, stand
he
up.
was building all over New York, right? It wasn't like he just.
Oh no, like I said, United Nations, all of those interstates. Remember, we said he did 416 miles of interstate. You know what I'm saying? So he did pretty much, if not probably all the interstates, but he did all of those projects, y'all. He did 150,000 housing units. He built. So all those tall tower in a park, stacking everybody on top of each other. That he's the man. He was the one that came up with that. Him and people in New York at the time. You know what I'm saying?
No wonder we can't stand the police, and no wonder they can't stand us.
Exactly.
This go back to the ancient war between whites and blacks.
So
like, that jank deep.
You know, and after researching the book, that made me realize, okay, we going about this police thing all wrong. You know, if they're doing what they're designed to do, we need to respond in another way. And I'm not necessarily saying fighting fire with fire. They are, well, we've been known for warfare in our culture, but we're still typically a more spiritual people than anything else. So they are masters of war, though. That's what they do. Their whole history and culture is based on war. Look at the holidays. You know what I mean? Everything is based on war. So, you know what I mean? But we do need to begin to create, and we'll get into that. You know, what it is that hip-hop did and the people that influence hip-hop to do what's needed to be done when situations like this arise.
That's what I want to say. You know, for those of us who are looking, I want to answer Deja Vu's question.
Anna Huak, peace.
Yeah, Anna Huak, peace.
Peace. Zulu Union, stand up. Yeah, we international. Y'all know what it is.
Yeah, I mean,
yes, sir.
love that logo.
Yes, sir.
Good God.
Yes. Oh, no, the logos are sweet, yo, for the Union, yo. But anyway.
And savagery. Okay, so I want to answer your question, Deja Vu, if you're still here. And then in doing this, we can kind of round it up a little bit or start rounding it up. Again, if y'all have any questions. So this is one question. He said, hi. He or she said, hi, I'm late. I just want to know what you were talking about and what the topic is. So we're talking about my man's book. We're reading
Good question.
This book that he wrote with his own hands, from my cold dead hands, but from his hot live hands came this book called Offstage. Let me pull up the joint, bang, bang-a-long-a-long, bang-a-long-a-long, bang-a-long-a-long. Okay, so he wrote this book and released it on the birthday of Malcolm X, May 19th of this year. And it is about the spirit of hip-hop at its true essence, but reminding us to not only to not forget that hip hop is more than rapping and MCing and b-boying and spinning and music. It's more than a genre. And you know, we all say that. If you ask any of us when hip hop started, we will name a time that's based around music. But Phatz is going back before that. So we're studying, adding on to the already established history of hip hop culture before the elements, before 1973. Not that no one was doing the elements before 1973, but before they were considered the hip hop elements, when it was the civil rights movement and shit was real. And that's what hip hop comes out of, not b-boying and spinning on your back. That's a side effect of the true culture and the true reason for the season.
Yeah, well, what happened is the elements are a celebration of what had to be done first. Certain things had to be put in order first by the people that created hip hop. And these people that created hip hop are the same. It's the same fraternal order of gang people who they've moved along and became DJ crews. And then these same people became B-boys and graph writers and, you know what I mean? And then these same people, that's why that's the cultural aspect of it, where the 70s is the result of what really had to happen.
Right.
The 60s, late 60s is really when we're going to get in to it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Hope y'all stick around for for the rest of the Tuesdays with us. We really about to get into what popped off.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And why hip hop is why it's no one can deny.
Oh yeah,
It's not
no
like
question.
this is not
No.
a theory. This is not a
Oh
philosophy.
yeah. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, this is
fact.
I wrote a syllabus. This is a history book. This is something that this is a movement.
Yeah.
This book is a movement in reforming.
I'm gonna say reformation. Come on.
The information and history of hip hop for what it really needs to be. You know what I mean? So, you have two things in hip hop culture, at least when you build with me. And in this book, it does two things. In the offstage hip hop movement, you have influence first, which you can't ignore in one's culture, especially a hip hop African American kind of American culture. There are a lot of people and adults who influenced and people who influence hip hop on both levels. Knowledge, there's knowledge and cultural influence, right? Then the people that did the knowledge and the culture started it. Then you have musical influence, right? Then you have the people who actually did the hip hop, the creation of the hip hop culture. So there have been people need to be put in their right perspective.
It's like there's tiers there's like a hierarchy. And we like
and it goes like this, because since I've done the research, it's influence. They did it. Music influence. It's like cultural influence. Hip hop people started. They did it. Music people start party time. They start influencing certain people. But people are influencing the people that the Hercs and the Bams and the Flashes. And then when they start, they're influenced. But there's been a lot of the people. There's been a mix up. My book is clear in it though. There's been a mix up with who's influence versus who actually did what.
Right.
And because we're basing it on music and the elements, it's being...
Well, we're never getting to the bottom of it.
Right.
It's just like you're scooping in something and you're not scooping deep enough because there's a bottom. And we're not even trying to get to the bottom because we're caught in music. And that says that we have allowed the industry to dictate to us what hip hop is. And that's the reason why even those of us who are really, really into the culture, it's hard for us to think outside of music if you ask us anything about hip hop.
Right.
Because we have accepted and this is the point of this book to me, is beseeching, we want to teach the youth coming forward that they can use hip-hop, that it's a tool of movementarianism. Let me see, where is that? Hip-hop is a grassroots, where is it? Hip-hop is a grassroots is grassroots activism, so it's a tool of activism. So we want to teach the youth that, but we also want to remind the adults, don't forget, when COVID happened and the police started whipping everybody's ass on TV real hard,
right?
It wasn't the beginning of it, was it? They've been doing it.
Yeah.
That's why we started hip-hop.
I mean, technology is here so we can see it.
Right.
Rodney King was groundbreaking, but it wasn't groundbreaking. It was groundbreaking because they got caught.
Because it was on.
That was they got caught doing it. It's like, people in the hood. Rodney King was like, oh man, they doing this all the time.
This all the time.
I got stories where police, they took my belt, they took my shoes, and took my car keys, threw them in the, told me to walk home. I mean, we go on and on with how the police have done this in the past, or whatever. Right. But
so we want to make sure that y'all understand that you can use hip hop. It's not like, let me just write a rhyme. Like, it's like, nah, the people before they wrote rhymes, they was healing the hood, like out here actually getting tuberculosis tests and stuff done for people and stuff like that. So we don't want to, spoiler alert. But the point is, hip hop is a movement. Join the offstage hip hop movement. We're about to go ahead and round it up. Let's say peace to our sponsors. Remind y'all of where we coming from. So this was brought to you in effect by Solar Flat Natives, the rubber people, Order of the Solar Flat Natives.
Chapter 30 of the mighty Zulu Union Coalition.
You know what I mean?
Yam Schniz.
Stand up.
All right. You already know.
Soul Trust Records, where you can not only keep up and subscribe with all of our different platforms and stuff, but you can also find Crumb on Soul Trust Records as well.
Minister of Information.
Minister of Information for Soul Trust Records.
Yes, he is.
Then he has his own minister, who is Chef Ponder. So we got two ministers in a roundabout way.
Chef P.
You know what I mean? 757 Stand Up. Also brought to you by Each Nine Teach Nine. That's my platform. Check us out if you like, please. Or just by following me or him, you're following any of this stuff in a roundabout way. And the Culture Chronicles, which is my man's platform right here. Culture Chronicles. And we'd like to thank you, Crumb TV, for having us.
Thank you, Crumb. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
TV. All right. So let me see. We got a final few, word. Powerful book. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm glad you said that. You guys can get it. Check it out again at Soul Trust Records. Just go to soultrustrecords.com. You'll see Phatz standing there like that. Click the buttons and it'll take you right to the book. And it's worth having, even if you're not going to read it, because now we're reading it to you. Just buy it to support the brother. We appreciate that. You know what I mean? Spread this video around. Anything you want to say?
Well, no. I just want to say thank y'all. Thank you again. Thank you, Crumb. And thank you, people who stuck with us, for this joint. We really, really appreciate it. Again, this is a movement, y'all. This isn't, the book is the beginning. I have more to write. We have more to rap. You know what I mean? This movement isn't real. Again, we do the elements too. Don't even play. Don't trip. We have access. You can ask around. For those of y'all that know anything about us, the Rubber People, the Juniper's Legacy, we are more than qualified to give you this information and teach you this based on life experience and our calling to actually reform the history and culture of hip hop. So, yo, we love y'all. Thank y'all very much, yo. And hopefully, praying, we will see y'all next Tuesday. Safe, healthy. You know what I mean?
So we like to, let me do it like Crumb do it. So we like to leave you in the same way we found you, in peace. Peace, y'all.
Peace, y'all.